my name's Rich, welcome back to Me, My Bike and I. This is my 92 Yamaha Virago XV535 engine. I've stripped her down, cleaned her, unseized her, put it all back together, and today I've got a last few little finishing off jobs to do before I put her back on the bike, and then hopefully I can get her started up. So what's left to do then? I've got to get the clutch cover on, that's going to need cleaning. Final items, middle gear cover, a new oil filter and its cover, not that one, neutral switch, rocker covers, not forgetting I need to adjust the rockers, first idler gear, starter motor and the final drive. And I've got a few little fixings and new O-rings to help me along the way. First thing I'm going to do though is just get the stator cover on. I cleaned this up already when I needed to use the timing mark to sort the timing of the engine out, and I just need to fit the new stator, and I've got some new bolts because I ground and cut all the other ones out. If you watched the last video, pickup coil, retaining clip, oil filler cap, and then your little crank cover and timing hole cover. It's just worth noting that the neutral switch just bolts into there, and this obviously is the stator side, and the stator cover goes across there, so it does sit outside the engine behind the cover because the mating surface of the cover's right there, so it's kind of open to the elements in a sense, but you can't get to it without taking the cover off. And if you put the cover on, put oil in, and you've forgotten to do that, then you're going to have to drain the oil or some of it to take that cover back off and get that switch on. Either that or go without a neutral switch. So just do it early on before you forget. It's just annoying having cables all dragging around the place, but of course, you know, you've got to get them on at some point. I think this little jobby goes on there. And then, right, just had a quick peek at a video of me taking this thing apart, and it seems it sits like that. Right, I sense this is going to be fiddly, so I just need to get this little retaining clip installed. There you go, that should, if we can hold it there and get the bolts started, get a little washer on it. Whiz that around. These are all a little bit tight, these threads, but probably what made these the old bolts so difficult to get out. Because actually none of the threads were completely stuck, it was just a mixture of stiff and the fact that the kind of the heads were chewed off. Right, it was all fingers and thumbs with that, but I think I've got there. That's the retaining bracket for the three-phase wiring that comes off the stator and round here. Obviously you've got your pulsar coil wiring coming along and through the same bracket. But that all seems okay. That just needs to be held very neatly away because you've got the stator flywheel running around here at engine speed. Okay, that's all kind of together. I've given the gasket surfaces a bit of a clean up as well, so ready to fit to the engine, I think. Neutral switch on. Just give those bolts a little nip up just to make sure they're okay. My history of forgetting to fit parts. Let's not make that mistake with the first idler gear. Right, let's just pop the gasket on. And it's just going to hang on that single dowel there. I'm guessing it's going to be tricky. It's grabbed it. Just need to kind of reposition it to get it on the dowel. The key thing is to try and get it straight. Oh, it's because it grabs it so much. Oh, look at that, straight on. Right, I'm going to get a couple of bolts in there so that gasket doesn't move again. Right. Well, that was a big old faff. Anyway, I've left the crank cover plug out because I need to turn that when I'm doing the valve adjustment. Same with the timing plug. The clutch cover's really clean, it's just a bit oily. I've just got to get rid of the old gasket and clean up the mating surface. Make sure the oil galleries are clear. They correspond with the engine here. That's the end of the crank. And just down there. I think, to be fair, that's going to take a little while, so I'm just going to get on with it and show you when it's done. I'm probably going to end up setting fire to it anyway. All nicely cleaned up in my parts washer. And as for the gasket surface, I do have to confess I did use my propane torch and a Stanley blade. Right, just need to have a good look at all these bolts. Some of them are very corroded, they'll need cleaning up, and some are fine, and some have been chopped through. I don't know who would have done that. Yeah, that was one of my angle grinder specials. This was one of the poor ones, and just using a split die. It's an M6 by 1mm, and they're very good for chasing threads out because you can tighten down on them and they'll properly get in there. There you go. That was one of the dodgy ones actually. Yeah. It's come out alright, I think. It's going to be a little bit easier than I thought because these are all the same length. I've only got two longer ones and that one's a bit longer than this one. These both go in the dowel holes because you can see that you need some extra length. That's the one I had to grind to get out, but it's properly cleaned up now, so we shouldn't have any bother putting it back in, so I'm not going to bother replacing it. And then all of the others are just these little short bolts of exactly the same length. You've got 4 clips here which hold the cable for the starter motor, and they all go in these very bottom 4 holes here. I'm not quite sure which one goes where or in exactly what orientation. I'll have to get the cover on first and then I should be able to figure it out, but you've just got 2 sort of left-handed and 2 right-handed ones, so anyway, once the cover's on, I should be able to just offer those up and see how they sit against the frame, because they should just follow the contour and offer some clippage for the cable, so we shall see. But anyway, that one definitely goes in there because I made an entire section of a video removing it, and that one goes in the other. And you can tell these are just very shallow holes. These ones are straight through and don't require long bolts. That one's got a deep hole with the thread quite the way in, so definitely needs the longer bolt, as does that one in there. This gasket seems just a little bit thicker than the other side. Right, okay, because we're not trying to fit a stator that's pulling the covering, it's going to be easier to fit, because on that stator side you've got the magnet on the pull, and that just pulled it all ski-whiff and made it very hard to get on. But with this one, no such problem. Just get it lined up on the dowels when it goes. First time. Okay, that's exactly how those clips go, just following the contours of the side cover against the engine case. Right, let's get all the bolts in. Two long ones first, because we know exactly where they go. All the rest nice and easily popped in because they are exactly the same. And just these four with the clips. How annoying. I just went to fit this filter and the cover, like so. This is the long bolt that goes up right through there. Try and do it up with the Allen key and it just spins out. I should have guessed, should have realised, because I had to clean this bolt up the very end, about the last 3 or 4 millimetres, maybe last centimetre possibly, had a load of aluminium in it, so it's clearly just stripped that thread out. So I've taken some measurements. The gap it has to pass through in the cover is 4.5 centimetres in length, and the hole depth, and I think it's threaded all the way down, is 6.5 centimetres. So you've got about you could get an 11mm bolt in there potentially, I think, and this one from the base of the head is 9.5mm. And I did screw it in without the cover and it found some decent thread, so I've ordered a new bolt that is 10 centimetres in length from the base of the head to the tip, and this one's just 9.5, so I kind of worked out I only needed about another 5 millimetres to find some decent thread, so hopefully that fixes it anyway, and we'll come back to this job a little later. See if we can wrestle this in now. I've got to get that spline lined up with the first idler gear, and I probably should have done that before I put the stator cover on. That would have been so simple. And this was quite hard to get out because there's quite a lot of grab on that little O-ring there. Anyway. Goes all the way in, we know it's lined up. Wiggle wiggle or two seems to have done the trick. Good, good. What are the chances that spline went straight in without any lining up? There's no chamfer on it, so that must have been just luck. And it went in so easy, it's actually gone past where I need it to go, so I just need to line them bolt holes up. There you go. Never can tell how easy or difficult anything's going to be. I thought this was going to be a proper faff getting it in. And straight in, no problem. Oil filter, which you think, oh, that's a straightforward job. Stripped out thread. Right, going to go for the final drive next. Do not have a new O-ring for this, that didn't come in the set. Hopefully it goes in easier than it came out anyway. Knocking now as I turn it, so that suggests that it's found its way in. It just needs to be pulled in gently. Still a little way to go, but yeah, we're all good, nothing's locked up. Blimey, they were all on the nose, 25 Newton meters. Right, let's just get a little bit of oil in there before we button it up. That sounds better now, it's not so dry. I took this cover off, it was upside down, so someone had been in there before. It was quite tricky to get out actually, I had to use a filter wrench, but that made light work of it. We'll just use the bolts as a puller. Time to do the valve clearances now. So this is the rear cylinder, intake and exhaust side. Normally what you do, you'll turn the crank so the little T mark is in TDC, top dead centre. You don't know if that's going to be compression or exhaust, so you give the valves a little wiggle, and if they're tight then it's exhaust. Well, at least if the exhaust valve's tight anyway, it's exhaust. So turn it another 360. They should go loose because all the valves are then closed, all loose like that. The trouble is these are so far out of whack, I'm going to have to adjust them right up quite carefully to be able to tell the difference. So the easiest thing to do is take the cam cover off, and I can look at the little timing pin under there instead, which will tell me instantly and definitively that it's in the right position. Clearly I'd already lined it up on TDC on compression before I put the cover on, so don't need to move it. Let's just get that into the ballpark of where it needs to be. And we need 0.15 mil. Turn that up up a bit. Getting a good little bit of drag there now, but just a bit more, I think. God, that seems very tight all of a sudden. Let's give that a try. Yeah, that's way too tight. Okay. Seems quite a lot of drag there, so if I just add 0.05 to it, that will not go. So I'm happy with that. If anything, that seems a little tighter, but 0.15 goes in okay. Let's just lock that down, shall we? And then just quickly recheck it. That seems fine. As long as I don't miss my mark, I should just be able to turn that from the T to the straight line. And hopefully I get straight on it without having to go round and around. I think oh, there it is. Let's turn that back ever so slightly. Okay. Right. Let's just get the cover off this side now. And I'm only doing that so I can double check. Oh, crikey. That I didn't go round too many times. I should have just gone straight to the straight line, but I might have missed it and gone round again, I don't know. So as long as I see the little pointer in the right place showing me it's TDC on compression up on the cam, serves as a good little check. Yeah, it's right where it should be. You can't see the dowel because it's kind of, well, you can see the little slot. Yeah, you can see the dowel, but the little dot on the sprocket itself is right there. It's a little indentation. It's a tiny bit off. It's what you'd actually call sort of half a tooth off. It should be sort of there. It's kind of there. And, you know, whilst you can't be half a tooth off, because obviously the chain will only fit onto the sprocket solidly onto a tooth, due to chain stretch and so on over time, you'll find that this mark here and the mark on the stator on the rotor won't perfectly line up as they should, but it's near enough. Just check it again. Fiddly getting that old bolt started there. Well, we're nearly there. Just one more thing to do, which is just get the filter in and the cover on the side. I've got a bolt on order for there because the old one seems to have chewed the threads out. So I've ordered a slightly longer bolt. I reckon I've got another 5 to 10 mil of thread at the bottom, and that should fix it. Can't get in there with a tap, I haven't got one long enough. Well, this is a few days later now. The bolts have arrived and I can get that oil filter cover installed, and then the engine's ready to go back in the bike. There's a few things that I could fit that I'm not going to, coils, things like that. I can just leave that till the engine's back in, and that's it really. So I'm going to get this little job finished, and then we'll leave this video here. So this was the issue. There's nothing wrong with the old bolt whatsoever, but when I cleaned it up, there was loads of aluminium threads on the very tip of the bolt, and of course with the case on, the bolt only goes in so far and it doesn't meet any good threads, but with the case off you can get it in nicely and you can get it to bite on some threads. So clearly I just need a slightly longer bolt, which I've got here. So this one's just 5 mil longer. So we're going to install the cover with the filter, and hopefully that'll do itself up good and tight, and that O-ring will seat okay and she'll be all fine. We'll soon find out when we get the engine in the bike and get oil in it if it leaks, and if it does then I'll have to take it all off and perhaps re-tap that instead. But I think this should be an okay fix. I'll soon be able to tell from how that's biting anyway. Cartridge doesn't actually press in, it sort of sits loose, and the filter cover holds it firmly in place. Okay, let's get the first bolt in, see if we can give that a bit of a push fit. Next. Okay. And that's the one that we really need to hope goes in, and there you go, that's bitten. Definitely don't want to be tightening down on that bolt too much, but it's got to be effective, hasn't it? So, you know, if it's got to be realistic with it. No, that's a good seat on that. That's good. I like that. That's okay. That's fine. And there she is, completely finished and ready to install. Well, that really does conclude the rebuild of this 92 Yamaha Virago XV535 engine. I'm just going to get her back on the bike now, and there's still quite a lot to do. I need to fit the seat, battery box, battery, exhausts, inlet manifold, carbs, horn, coils, foot peg and brake clutch hangers. Those are just the things I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a few more bits. So we're going to skip forward to firing her up for the first time, and I'm not going to do it without you. We'll do it together. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of coughing and spluttering and backfiring before she springs to life, but she will spring to life. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and I will see you on the next video.